So why do we think that League of Legends is in ways more successful than Dota? It's because the game is easier to play. It has like a less steep learning curve at first. The map is cleaner and in a way it's easier to see things. Like, dude, I've been playing Dota for
Sure.
7,000 hours and Johan, so when we started looking about franchise leagues and you heard that Overwatch was going to launch, Call of Duty was going to launch, obviously League of Legends franchise. What was your feeling as a competitor and where you were in that moment?
I still have the same feeling that the game needs to have at least a certain level of quality, replayability, and be what I guess you could call a good game before it will have an easy time sustaining itself. That's very obvious, right? If the game is not good, the player base is not going to be high nor not be very committed. It starts becoming harder to say that this will be a successful game, this will have a long life, and so on and so on. I felt like Overwatch didn't have that, yet it still had a very good sustainable viewership compared to, I don't know all the numbers about the player base and so on, but compared to at least my circle of people that I knew, we all had the same experience. We played it for 2-3 weeks and it started feeling extremely repetitive. Then you have other games that I think, for example, League of Legends is pretty good game, but not the best. Obviously, people really like it, but I think Riot is an expert in making a game have like a good competitive, or this is, I guess, their first venture, Riot's first venture into trying to make an esports scene. But they made, I think, a very, very healthy, good esports scene to carry even the game that might not be ultimately the best. And what I would then take my examples being Counter-Strike and Dota being extremely good games with communities that basically carried the competitive scene, the esports scene, started and carried it. I want to say, Valve, of course, have been involved, and Dota wouldn't be what it was if not for Valve, and they also moved the whole esports scene with TI. But still, I would put this as like a super tier type of game. And there are other games like that, I guess, like where you just have the game quality and the game being what people really, really follow. I think people follow League for also the LEC and the worlds and like the whole competitive scene, and maybe also for a lot of other reasons. Now you have Arcane and whatnot. You can see that they're really good and doing a lot of things as a company, also to promote the esports scene's longevity and the health of the game. So yeah. What did I think of Call of Duty? And I don't have much of an opinion on Call of Duty. I have very little experience, but I was always very worried with Overwatch just because I played the game, and then very worried with anything that Blizzard would touch, because I think Blizzard has been a messed up company, like very messy in terms of decisions with their games, decisions for their fans, and that's outside all the controversy with the company that came out too. That was before I had that opinion, but now even more so. So yeah,
I'm more in the heart of LA Valiant, which is one of the teams in Overwatch. I was there on the first season as the vice president of content for Immortals, and I have to say I love Overwatch. I think it's the most beautiful game ever made. I don't want to talk about the playability because obviously I see it from the other perspective, but as a media product and as a game, it's amazing. It's gorgeous. It sounds amazing. The maps are amazing. Every hero, every character has voice lines, hitboxes, heights that affect your playability. You see differently from different angles. You move differently. You breathe different. When you are inside of Wisdom, you can feel the heavy breathing. When you move, you hear the toom, 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 toom. And I thought it was an amazing experience. I can't speak because of the playability, because I agree with you. When I play a game, I play 30 hours. That's it. Yay, I play this game, But I would say my experience was wonderful. Working on Overwatch Season 1, I thought it was wonderful as well. Everybody was trying to do something really cool, community-driven. There was a lot of really solidarity and inclusion that we did in LA Valiant, and I loved it. Now, as much as I love the game and as much as I actually like what Blizzard was saying, problem is that in the moment that you make a franchise and you make people pay for it and all that, you have to create regulations so everybody obey by those. And that's when the game becomes very constricted, because then there are no teams that have a space to get in, and there is no new stories that get in, and there is no new people with new ideas that can get in. And the people that are in have a very low ceiling of things we can do, We have to standardize everything. So it lacks life and it lacks community, which is what you said.
So if you want to do what Riot did, which is make an exclusive league, there's the same thing goes there, right? You have no other leagues, you have no other tournaments that goes on that are worth anything compared to LEC or Worlds. If you want that to work, then you really got to hope that the publisher cares and knows what they're doing and will execute this. Because if not, there's no room for the community to do it themselves. There's no room for the game to kind of grow to its potential. Meaning, if the game is really good and has a huge following and has a lot of people that care and want to play and want to do mods, want to do tournaments, the game will grow. The game will get bigger. The game will become more history to it. But if you are developer will say there's only this one league, this one tournament that you can participate in that's worth something in our game, you have to be here. Then you rely on them, you depend on them to do a good job. And if I was depending on Blizzard, I would not be very happy.
But I would say you said something very interesting, and I want to really horn into this: game versus their ability to run a tournament and a community. I think Overwatch as a game had all the ingredients needed to make it a real exciting competition. And funny enough, and this is a very controversial opinion, I still think it has it. I believe in Overwatch. I don't know if I believe with the 20 millions, but I believe in Overwatch because I think it has a very cool fan base and the game is very PG and the game is really beautiful. And I think it could do something. I could see them having a second win by the time Overwatch 2 comes out. But you're right. There is one thing that League of Legends has done maybe better than everybody, maybe better than Valve. I think they've been able to make a very exciting scene around the game and making a lot of products around the game, in which I consider the inferior MOBA,
Probably they have constricted slightly, but there's no way around it when you want full control and you want, this and that. But they have grown a lot. They have actively done things. I'm not fully into what they've done, but I've heard that they've done things for community based. They make these smaller mini games themselves and make sure they work and they run. They have very good ways to introduce heroes to kind of get them in the game quicker and help people understand and not feel behind. So again, new player entry, new player welcome, much better. Whereas, before last year's DPC and this year's DPC, the ecosystem for Dota was a lot better. As a nerd who wanted a lot of story, I dare to say, I don't know everything that went on in League of Legends and everything, but I just know that in Dota so much has happened in the past. Also because there's not been control, there's not been exclusive leagues, there hasn't been any leagues, and this is just made for so many storylines and is made for so much to talk about and so much for tournament organizers to do, for fans to again, they spark new conversations, they talk about new things, make up new stories that might not even be true. And I feel like it's kind of unique, to the games that have not been smothered, spoiled, or smothered, yeah.
So why do we think that League of Legends is in ways more successful than Dota? It's because the game is easier to play. It has a less steep learning curve at first. The map is cleaner and in a way it's easier to see things. Dude, I've been playing Dota for 7,000 hours and I continue to find things every day. But I was didn't know this was here.
But yeah, they have...
what is it? Because
they obviously have a easier time for new players to get into the game. I don't know if there's also something to do with the communication, the chat, the general the general vibe as a new player, because it can be also that part can also be very hard in many competitive games, but it for sure is in Dota. But more so, I think it's the advertising, the tutorial system, and the how the game is trying to teach you things, teach you how to play heroes. There are of course some explanations in Dota and some explanations in the client that you can learn from, but Valve has not been doing a lot of work on this. And when the community went ahead and made a new tutorial, Valve's new patch kind of botched it again. So there's the community is always behind, trying to catch up, and Valve kind of being in control and leading the charge. They don't really carry that responsibility well enough, I want to say. So that's another thing. What else does Riot do well? I think they hire people. They have a lot more people working. They actually have people working on the esports scene. Whereas Valve, I don't think they have all the people working in the esports scene could probably fit in like a bathroom, you know? They could fit in like a tiny room. Like there's almost nobody working on Dota from Valve. There's nobody to talk to. There's no communication.